Welcome back to World Crisis Radio. So we have that very interesting German influential. This is not a backbencher. This guy Brock, B-R-O-K, relatively important guy, and he says it's a currency war by the Anglo-Saxons, the U.S. and the British against continental Europe. Exactly right. Waging financial war. They want to shatter the Eurozone in order to make money. Now, true enough, but power is the overarching goal. It subsumes money. To maintain U.S.-British world domination, including in the financial area, they're trying to destroy the euro as a competitor to the dollar for the role of reserve currency. In other words, political economy, both together, fused together, what the Austrian school, of course, denies. So this guy is a connoisseur of the U.S., according to EU Observer. So Christian Democrat says this stuff. Notice, socialists, right, SPD, Social Democrats, not likely. And that's this character Hollande. You look at him, you have to say, well, Sarkozy is certainly a slave of the U.S. with his CIA family. Big question, would Hollande be any better, given the terrible record of the Second International Socialist parties as being stooges of the CIA and Soros in all these countries? Now, in Italy, Monti, the Goldman Sachs prime minister of Italy, warns of a political backlash against his austerity. He says, I've already done as much austerity as I can do. Now I've been downgraded again, 2 notches by these guys at Standard & Poor's. A backlash is coming. Yes, it's time to break out of this system. And again, one way to do it, let Magistrate Ruggiero of Trani go to work and put some of these people behind bars. He's already indicted some of them. He's raided their offices quite a few times. Let's see some action on that front. Now, in Italy, we're all looking forward to a week from today, January 27th, General Strike. General Strike. This is the kind of thing we should be doing here in the U.S. Don't worry about the bloody Republican nomination, right? As if anything could ever come out of that death cult and absolute chamber of horrors, the clown car, if you like. But time for general strike in Italy, January 27th, the level of social conflict increasing. Again, the need there. Where's your program? Are you ready to become the government? If you don't like Monti, who do you want? Same problem posed in Wisconsin. The question of power and a program for power. Above all, the need for the financial transaction tax, seizing control of the European Central Bank, start issuing those trillion-euro tranches of credit, but for infrastructure only, for real production only. Yes, picking winners and losers, at least determining that financial services have been winning long enough while the society is losing. Now, in last thing, Pakistan, the U.S. supply route is still closed. The attempt is to have a face-saving compromise using these fees or tariffs that would be used as a fig leaf to say, yeah, we're letting the U.S. Walk all over us again, but at least we're getting, $30 or $40 or $50 million to prove that we're sovereign. The debate in Pakistan is the debate in Egypt is should they go with the Turkish model or the Pakistan model? In other words, Turkish model where the army stays in the background more or less, or Pakistan where the army is in the foreground. Neither one. Go for the Nasser model, the Egyptian model from the 1950s. Nationalist colonels who are anti-imperialist. All right. Now, given the volume of stuff that I have gotten, and some of it's quite interesting, some of it, I'm afraid, misguided, let's talk once again about the Ron Paul candidacy. And I really want to call your attention here to the speech that Ron Paul gave. This, I think, tells essentially his political program is illuminated by the speech that he gave on the floor of the House of Representatives in March of 2001. This is in the congressional record. It's called The Beginning of the End of Fiat Money. March 13th, 2001. The beginning of the end of fiat money. And here we have this absolutely crucial quote. There is nothing to fear from globalism, free trade, and a single worldwide currency. Nothing to fear from globalism, free trade, and a single worldwide currency. Now, this is a model for a version of a new world order. You could call it golden globalism for short, since we had that festival out there in Hollywood this week, not the golden globalists, but Ron Paul qualifies as a golden globalist, I think, based on this speech, which is programmatic. It lays out, I think, an entire worldview. Nothing to fear from globalism, free trade, and a single worldwide currency. And one could say a one world currency. So one world globalism, free trade, which is global, and a one world currency. Isn't this rather strange? My short title would be Golden Globalism. My long title, my analytical title of this would be Ron Paul's Neo-Feudal, Neo-Confederate, hyper-deflationary, one-world dystopia. Dystopia being a bad utopia, right? Things like, something in the future that you don't want to have. Now, let's look at globalism. Once again, what is globalism? What does this mean? Well, it's the doctrine that emerged after the weakening and the fall of the Soviet Union. The U.S. could essentially dictate to most places around the world. A lot of the smaller countries had no alternative. They could no longer play the U.S. against the Soviets and eke out a margin of maneuver for themselves. So globalism comes down to the Washington Consensus, or the rules of the International Monetary Fund. The shock therapy that was practiced in Russia by Chubais and Nemtsov and Gaidar in the 1990s is an example of globalism. Deregulation, no more regulations. Deregulate derivatives, deregulate health. Right? Thatcher had fought hard to deregulate the cow industry, right? The cattle, and we got mad cow because Thatcher didn't want to pay for inspectors. Deregulation of everything, mainly derivatives, banks, financial practices, right? Privatize everything. Ron Paul's Restore American Budget has him selling off large amounts of U.S. public lands, U.S. minerals, U.S. public buildings. It doesn't go into details, but it's a large number. Deregulation, privatization, union busting, and of course that's Ron Paul's nationwide right-to-work law, meaning a union-busting law. That's globalism, globalization, the race to the bottom, what we've been seeing. We'll be back in a minute to talk more about golden globalism.